The sun was barely up over the city of Manila, and the streets were already alive with noise. Jeepneys roared by, horns blared, and vendors shouted for attention. Amid the chaos, a boy named Juan stood barefoot near a street corner. His clothes were worn, his hair messy, but in his eyes burned something that couldn't be hidden, a dream. He clutched an old, cracked microphone, one that didn't even work anymore. The wire dangled loose, but to him, it was real enough. Every morning he sang as if the whole world could hear him. Some people stopped for a moment, dropping coins into the rusty tin can in front of him. Others just passed by, barely noticing. But Juan didn't mind. Every note he sang carried his heart, his pain, and his hope for something bigger than the streets of Manila. His mother watched from a distance, her eyes tired yet filled with quiet pride. She had seen him sing through storms, through hunger, through nights when they had nothing to eat. He always said the same thing to her, "Mama, one day I'll sing for Simon Cowell. He'll press the golden buzzer for me." She laughed gently every time, not because she didn't believe him, but because the dream sounded too far away for a boy with no shoes. One day Juan noticed a colorful poster stuck to the wall of a small music shop. "America's Got Talent auditions open. Send your video now." He froze, staring at it as if it were calling his name. The thought raced through his mind, could this be it? Could a poor boy from the streets of Manila really step on that massive stage he'd only seen on a tiny TV in a local cafe? He ran home, clutching the poster. That night, he convinced a friend to record him singing with an old phone. His voice filled the dark alley, echoing against the walls. The sound was raw but beautiful. He sent the video online, praying someone out there would listen. Weeks passed. Life went on as usual, singing for coins, sharing half a meal with his mom, dreaming with open eyes. Then, one morning, an email appeared on his phone. He didn't even know how to open it properly at first. When he did, his hands shook. "Congratulations, you have been selected to audition for America's Got Talent in Los Angeles." The moment felt unreal. His mom cried, holding him tight. "Juan, this is your time," she whispered. They didn't have money for tickets, but the AGT team arranged his travel. For the first time he boarded an airplane. As he looked down from the window, the clouds stretched endlessly, and the city he once sang in looked like a tiny painting below. He smiled softly, whispering to himself, "I'll make them proud." The day of the audition arrived. The massive AGT stage shone under dazzling lights, and the audience buzzed with excitement. Backstage, Juan's hands trembled as he held the microphone. He wore a simple shirt, neatly ironed by his mom the night before he left. The host greeted him with a warm smile. "Are you ready?" He nodded, though inside his heart pounded like a drum. When his name was called, he walked out slowly, squinting under the lights. The judges sat before him. Simon Cowell in the center with his piercing stare, Sophia, Heidi and Howie beside him. The crowd looked curious, whispering among themselves. He looked small on that vast stage. Simon leaned forward and asked, "What's your name and where are you from?" John's voice was soft but steady. "My name is Juan and I'm from Manila, Philippines." A few cheers rose from the audience. Simon tilted his head. "All right, Juan, show us what you've got." The room fell silent. Juan took a deep breath. Then, as the first notes of "Can't Help Falling in Love" began, everything else disappeared. His voice was pure, soulful, trembling with emotion. It wasn't just singing, it was storytelling. Every line carried the weight of the streets, the struggles, and the hope that had kept him alive all these years. His tone wrapped the room in silence. People leaned forward. The camera zoomed in on Simon's face, skeptical at first but now softening. When John reached the chorus, something shifted. A woman in the audience wiped her tears. Heidi's hand covered her heart. Simon leaned back, exhaling deeply, his expression unreadable. Then Juan hit that final high note, powerful, unshaken, glowing with feeling. The hall erupted in applause. The entire crowd stood up. The judges rose too. Juan lowered the microphone, his eyes wet. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. Simon didn't say a word. He looked at Juan for a long moment, then smiled slightly. The kind of rare smile people wait years to see. Without warning, Simon reached forward and slammed his hand down on the golden buzzer. Golden confetti exploded from the ceiling, shimmering like stars raining from heaven. Juan froze, his hands over his mouth. He fell to his knees crying. The music swelled as the audience screamed and cheered. Simon stood up, walked to the stage and hugged him tightly. "You deserve this," he said softly. "That was one of the most emotional performances I've ever heard." Juan could barely speak. His voice cracked as he whispered, "Thank you, sir, thank you so much." Backstage, his mother watched on the monitor, tears streaming down her face. She pressed her hand to her heart, whispering prayers of gratitude. The moment the golden confetti rained down on her son, she knew. All the hard nights, the hunger, the pain, it was all worth it. As Juan stood on that stage surrounded by a sea of gold, his eyes scanned the crowd. For a second, time stopped. He thought about the days he sang on the streets, when people barely noticed him. Now thousands were on their feet cheering his name. He thought of his mother's face, of the dream that once seemed impossible. The stage lights gleamed like a sunrise, and for the first time in his life, he felt seen, loved, and free. The camera cut to Simon wiping a tear before smiling again. The other judges clapped joyfully, still amazed by what they'd just witnessed. Howie leaned into his mic and said, "Juan, you just reminded us why this show exists. For moments like this." The crowd roared again, chanting his name. That night, the performance went viral online. Within hours, millions of people around the world watched the video. "Poor Filipino boy earned Simon Cowell's golden buzzer." Comments poured in. "His voice is like an angel's. From the streets to stardom. Simon never gives the buzzer easily, but this one was magic." The clip was shared across countries, inspiring kids who had dreams but no resources, parents who had lost hope, and musicians who once thought their voices didn't matter. Meanwhile, in a small room in Manila, Juan's mom replayed the video over and over. She smiled every time the golden confetti fell. Neighbors gathered outside celebrating as if the entire community had won. "That's our boy," they shouted. For them, Juan's success wasn't just his, it was theirs too. Weeks later, Juan returned home for a short visit before the AGT live rounds. The same streets he once sang on were now lined with people waiting to greet him. Kids ran up, trying to touch his hand. He laughed shyly, overwhelmed by the love. He told the local press, "I'm still the same Juan." The stage was big, but the dream was bigger. The air that evening felt different. Lighter, brighter. He visited the old corner where he used to sing. The tin can was still there, dented and worn. He picked it up, smiled, and whispered, "Thank you." He closed his eyes, hearing echoes of his own voice from the past, blending with the cheers of that golden moment. Back in Los Angeles, the AGT producers prepared for the next round, but everyone remembered Juan. Even Simon mentioned him in an interview. "There was something real about him," Simon said. "It's not about technique or fame, it's about heart, and that boy had heart." Months passed, but that one audition remained iconic. Clips of Juan's voice continued to circulate on social media, inspiring young dreamers across Asia and beyond. Artists recreated his version of the song, radio stations replayed it, teachers used it as an example of perseverance. Juan became a symbol, proof that even the humblest beginnings can lead to the grandest stages. He later revealed in an interview that before stepping on the AGT stage he had prayed backstage, whispering, "Lord, if this is the moment you give me, let me sing not for fame, but to show the world that you never forget the small ones." When asked how it felt to get the golden buzzer, he smiled and said, "It felt like heaven opened for a second." Even long after the season ended, fans remembered the boy from Manila who silenced the judges and moved Simon Cowell to tears. His story wasn't just about talent. It was about courage, faith, and the power of a voice that refused to be silenced. From singing barefoot on the streets to standing beneath a rain of gold, John's journey became a living reminder that dreams don't belong only to the rich or the lucky. They belong to those who keep singing, even when no one is listening. And somewhere, on a quiet night in Manila, his mother still sits by the window, the television softly replaying the moment her son became the pride of a nation. She smiles through tears, whispering to herself, "He did it, my boy did it." The world may forget many performances, but it will never forget the one that started with a barefoot dreamer from Manila, and ended in golden rain.